Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host and the noob, but now not so much, Caliban at your service.
And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon prison power make up this episode. Sailor Noob is brought to you by Puss in Boots.
Here's your Kiro Miru for today.
Yeah.
Let's curiously look at the fact that the Kōhī animation mascot is a strange mutant being trapped between cat and mouseness.
Yes.
But it turns out that it's Puss in Boots, Gato Pero, which is like cat dog, which is a different thing. Don't push that. You're going to get sued for that.
Cat dog is a different thing. Yeah.
Because in like 1969, when Toei Animation, I guess, was just getting off the ground, they had Puss in Boots was a big feature that they did. And it's one of those things that, like, culturally, it didn't penetrate to America at all. But I think maybe adults and kids who are stans of Toei Animation, old films, would remember. And so it just sort of got locked in as like, oh, that's our mascot.
Right.
But if you look into it, if you look at stills from the film, Puss is hairy like a cat. Let's just move on from that sentence. And so, and you think like, okay, yeah, cat, sure, right? Uh-huh. But in the processed sort of iconized Toei Animation logo,
yeah,
he's smooth for reproduction.
Smooth. Yes.
So again, let's move on directly from that sentence. So he looks like, so if you look at Tom and Jerry next to each other,
yeah,
Tom has pointy ears, but he's got a furry face because he's a cat.
Yes.
And Jerry has more rounded ears, but he's smooth because we don't want to gross people out with mice, I guess.
Yeah, right.
So he's smooth like a mouse, but he's hairy like a cat.
Yeah, that's really...
Look, maybe later we're going to talk about our favorite things that we learned. That might be... Here's my spoiler. That might be the most favorite thing that I've learned throughout this long, now 47 episode process.
Yes. Well, let's get into it, shall we? For today's episode, we are going to take a look back at season 1 of Sailor Moon and talk about what were some of the highlights and some of our favorites so far.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much more. We are moving on, but you still, write in your junior high friends yearbook, that you're going to always miss them and do they even do that anymore? In my day, you always said see ya in the summer or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And you said XDX, where XDX is the year that I was in junior high, but I don't want to say what it is.
That's
XDX
fine.
Kicks.
Yeah,
we hadn't invented rocks back then, so we said kicks. But you're excited to go to high school, and I'm excited to go to high school. Did I do this right? There's four series, right? So junior high school, college, and then just life, I guess. Maybe grad school. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
This is the premise for our show, Diane. Okay? I'm in a dunce cap in the show art. So the idea is that I will be professor of Sailor Moon by the time we're done with this.
I see what you're saying. I was like, wait, are you
This
saying
is your
that they're
show.
like, I know, but like I was really confused. I was like, wait, they have a year of high school and then they're
No,
on their
we do.
I know.
We're leaving junior high.
I understand what you're saying. It just took me a minute. See, the dunce cap was on my head for a minute. So
but it's not going to line up with the girls perfectly because they're going to be in junior high forever. So we're not going to worry about that. But no, for us. That's how you have to think about it in terms of continuing education.
I get that, and I appreciate that. And I feel like
the first thing
even
you
though
learn,
I've seen this before, my knowledge of Sailor Moon is growing as well.
The first thing, well, whatever. You're Billy Madison it. Madison. The first rule of Sailor Moon Club is it's a cat and a mouse at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
And its name means dog,
which is super confusing. So I thought we'd start off and kind of talk about some of our favorites. And I thought we could talk about by starting with our favorite guest star. So, and what I mean by that is like a character we see in 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 episodes. They're not necessarily like
a recurring player?
Yeah.
Or just a day player?
Just like a day player, like not like a supporting character like a Naru, but like somebody who's like in like
okay, that's all right. So you are talking about just like guest star then.
Yes.
Okay.
Like guest stars, but they could come back. That's fine.
Sure.
So, do you want to start or do you want me to go first?
Let's establish a pattern of you going first.
Me going first? Okay.
Yeah.
I will. That's fine. Mine is Reika. I like that she's really smart and that she's into science and archaeology. I also like that she's super elegant and put together. And honestly, if the Senshi got to know her, I think that she potentially could be a really great influence and role model for them. But I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen.
No.
And I wish that she was a larger character than she is. I'm also a huge fan of her Yoma, Riko Kedar, who besides being awesome character design had a lot of great moves and some really great lines like girls without boyfriends, pathetic, and single-celled organisms are the foundation of life. I mean, that was pretty awesome too. So
yeah, our girls are not exactly super intellectual, minus
me.
So
I know, but maybe
she could be a role model to them, but maybe they just wouldn't care.
Wouldn't it have been neat though, like if Ami and her had kind of like connected more or something like that? Because like Ami, like I don't know if they've really talked about it a whole lot, but she kind of wants.
Well, we haven't heard, and this is, I mean, it's junior high, although in Japan, you plan things out a long ways, but I don't think we've ever really heard what Ami plans to do.
Okay, I will keep my mouth shut then.
Oh, well, maybe we find out later. So put that in what's going to happen, what's coming up. So I mean, like at this point, like, she's very math and focused, so maybe engineering or something like that. But archaeology is a hard science for sure, but maybe the engineering part wouldn't help so much with that.
Yeah.
So who knows?
That could be. Who is your favorite?
I reject your premise.
Okay.
I also selected a reincarnated human who becomes one of the 7 great Yoma.
Yeah.
Mine would be Yumemi Yumeno.
Nice.
Because I think that she could be the star of her own show. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
A sort of reserved, just as a point of description, mousy woman who is a very talented artist and is very passionate in her work and expresses that passion through her work, and people love it. But she's got a secret identity, kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And as in the one episode that she features, I know she appears again.
Right.
She develops and sort of gets over that and becomes more self-confident, and it's like she's got their own little mini arc, and I could see an entire spin-off show or separate show where she uses her painting power week by week to do this, that, and the other, and she's always sort of struggling with expressing herself more, and she's just a lot of depth, I think, to this kind of one-shot character.
Yeah, I can see that.
Also becomes a very cool Yuma, one of my favorite Yuma, Vina.
Yeah, she was a cool design. I kind of wonder because and I know that like they don't totally lose whatever powers they had. It doesn't seem like they necessarily do. At least Ro, we know. Like I'm talking about the people who were the 7 great Yoma.
Yeah.
I know Ro still has some premonition abilities. I don't know if it's the same or if it's different. So I think that she's still like a great artist, but I wonder, does she still get like visions of these things that are happen to be related to the Senshi and stuff like that? Or does she, does she get inspiration elsewhere? Does she still get kind of like inspired visions, but that are not necessarily related to them? I wonder.
Possibly. I'm trying to remember I think her art changes subtly, doesn't it? But it's probably still beautiful girls and handsome men. Mm-hmm. She's got the power of author Avatar, I think.
Yeah.
She seemed like a very Naoko Takeuchi sort of character, right?
Yes, she does. To be fair to Naoko, she was not in the manga, so this is the anime.
Oh, well, okay.
Being like,
sure. Maybe a tribute to her.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yes, exactly.
Nice.
I'll take it. And speaking of Yoma, I thought we would talk about our favorite Yoma.
Sure.
And mine is Oniwa Bandana. I know that we literally just talked about her, but I think that she is my favorite from this season. I loved her overall character design, that her name and the character design are referencing Oniwaban, who again were the secret agents who worked directly for the Shogun.
Right.
I think that she had a lot of really cool abilities as well, such as her great entrances and exits, which were super fun.
Right.
And her ability to make mirror images of herself. I also really enjoyed that she said "banban" a lot.
Yeah, well.
How about you?
Man, this was a tough one.
Right.
Just because, I gave out a couple 5s.
Yes.
And so it's really hard to answer who's my favorite. In fact, I would probably protest the question and not answer if I had to, if you put a gun to my head.
Sure.
But I would probably, I don't know, I'd probably have to go with Bokshi.
Yes.
Just because of his exuberance.
Very.
And, we saw, and maybe this is an effect of like who was in the manga and who wasn't, but we saw a lot of kind of one-dimensional characters, Yoma characters early on who had like one thing. So it's like I make things smell or whatever, or I'm the bat one that's doing sound or whatever. Who was cool.
She was cool.
But that's the first time that it was like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like it's got 10 different things. It boxes, but it's got wings.
Yeah.
And it screams out its catchphrases.
Yes.
And he's the king of kings.
Yeah.
And just has so many aspects to it, and it's complicated, and it's a lot of hats or head guards, maybe too much, but it really like put, was a real challenge for the sailors too. A lot of them are getting involved. Even like Umino has to get involved while they're restoring Naru's smile. And so
right.
there, I know, huge upset. Where's Cameron? But he was like the first of the sort of brand of Yoma in my mind that were just versatile and powerful and could do a lot of stuff. A list that Cameron's on for sure.
Oh, yes,
but,
for sure.
Yeah, I think it's probably Bokshi.
Yeah, I like Bokshi too. If I had to pick runners up, and I don't know if we are even allowed to do this.
No.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay. It would be probably Riku Kedar and Cameron, because they stick out as standouts and being effective and being memorable. When I look back and think about the Yoma from this season, those are the ones that I tend to think about.
Yeah, I would definitely have Oniwa Bandana on there. Although Oniwa feels like a character that should have been there for a while. Like the way that we set it up is that we've just got the whatever king we're on at the top of the heap and then pulls out the disposable monster. But like Oniwa could have been like a second in command character who sticks around for a while.
Somebody who worked underneath the king.
Yeah. Which is almost kind of why it kept her off of my top pick, because Bokshi's great, but how far can you go with Bokshi? He just comes in, is, entertaining and hilarious and is a big problem, and then, but we take care of that problem and we move on.
Right. No, that's very true.
That's why I thought it was like the perfect single-serving Yoma.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's a good way of putting it too. And the Yoma are for the most part, they are pretty single-serving, right? Like you get them for one episode and then they're done.
Yeah.
So, and then I thought we would move on to talk about ratings that we regret.
Okay.
So episode ratings or Yoma ratings that we, if we could go back in time, we would change either higher or lower than what we gave. I think that I was a little harsh on some of the kind of filler episodes that happened, especially like later on in the season. In particular, episode number 38, the Yuki-yo, Yama-yo, Yujo-yo, Yappari Yoma Moyo in Japanese, or, the snow, mountains, friendship, and monsters. And number 39, Yoma to Pea, Hyojo no Jo Mako-chan in Japanese, are paired with a monster, Mako, the ice skating queen. So these are the ones that kind of like stuck out to me, just without like looking at a full list, that I was like, oh, I kind of wish I had been a little kinder to that. I gave episode 38, the skiing one, a 1. And even though I think that the interaction between Usagi and Rei, i.e., let's deal with the fact that my boyfriend is your lover from a past life, and I guess you're dating now, or something. I didn't hate what we got. I just wish that I had, I wish there was a little bit more there, but I kind of feel like maybe I should have given the episode overall a 3 instead of a 1. I also think I was a little harsh on the Yoma. Yes, I do still find that Blizzard's overall design is pretty disturbing. But she was pretty effective Yoma overall, and I like how she disobeyed Endymion and snuck off to attack the girls. I gave her a 2, and I wish I had given her a 3 instead. Similarly, I gave episode 39 a 2 overall, and while not great, it is a Mako episode, and I think that it has some great moments, like when she lifts Misha up over her head into like a lift, and the part at the end of the episode where she says another random guy reminds her of her senpai. So that was pretty great. I wish I had given that a 3 instead as well. How about you?
I regret nothing.
Nothing?
No, that's not true.
Whoa.
I still don't really regret giving Morika a 1.
Oh, okay.
But this is regret. Because I think at the time, I said that obviously things are going to get a lot better than this. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that she deserved a 1 necessarily, but it did get better.
Yeah, wow.
It got way better.
Yes.
To the heights of Bokshi and Oniwan Bandana.
Yes.
So I don't really care. But she probably didn't deserve a 1.
Okay.
No, mine would be my regret would be giving episode 15, Usagi's Panic, Rei's First Date, a 2, and also giving the Yoma Patassos a 2 as well. Okay. I'd probably give him 3s now, I think. Okay. But I don't know what it was. I just wasn't feeling that episode. It was right after Nephrite showed up, and Tensi was fine, I guess. But I guess I didn't really get where we were going with the whole Zodiac thing and how good Nephrite would become as a villain and erstwhile hero as he developed more as a character. But it's just like that's where we start in on the whole, maybe Rei's going to end up with Mamoru, and then we're just kind of killing time, and the squirrels go crazy and attack people.
Yes, I know.
And I was just like, what is all this?
Butterflies too.
So I'd probably be a little more gracious if we encountered that later in the series instead of just giving a 2 and a 2. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I think one of the things I was surprised about looking back at it was the overall lack of 5s that I gave out.
Oh, okay.
And I think that I would have changed a lot of my 4s to 5s. And I think moving forward, I know I said like, I'm being too nice. So I was a little more critical towards the end there, but now I'm thinking like, well, maybe I'm not being generous enough. I mean, I do love this show, so maybe I should express that a little bit more. So
yeah, but it's criticism. You have to be critical.
I know.
I regret none of my 5s. And only one of my 1s.
Right. Exactly.
The only thing I regret is giving out 2 4.5s.
I regret that as well. And I also wanted to mention that and say, I'm really glad that we moved away from giving 0.5s because I think that forces us to make a decision one way or the other,
Yeah, if I had to, I would probably bump my the 4.5 I gave to the Love in the Rain episode. I'd probably go to 5 on that.
Yeah, with the Love in the Rain, is that the one with the musician?
Yes.
Yes.
And the and the aforementioned Bat Monster.
Yeah, I like the Bat
Who
Monster
would stay
too.
at 4, but I would give the episode a 5.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
And
yeah.
I would probably give the I would probably keep the rating for the bus episode, or no, excuse me, the clocks episode.
Oh, a 4.5.
That would go to 4.
Oh, that would go to 4.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think I gave Garoben, who was the from episode 8,
quizzing bad guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Yoma when Mercury first arrives. I gave her a 4.5. I would bump that up to a 5 because I think she's pretty terrifying. And I think overall, I feel like the episodes where the Senshi arrive, I feel like they're pretty strong episodes.
Yeah.
And probably all could be 5s in their own right.
Well, isn't it the bus one? That's the Ray one, right?
That's the Ray one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, except for that one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's. I actually agree with you. I think that's the weakest of all of them. And I wish I gave the first episode. I gave it a 4. Where it all starts, and I would totally give that a 5. So,
right.
Yeah. I know it's episode 1, but
I'm glad that well, you're out of control of the 5s there, but
okay, I'll try to be generous, but watch it. Our favorite Kyoro Miru that we talked about. For me, I guess I had a couple that I had 2 that I wanted to talk about. When we talked about Japan's Cat Islands, or Aoshima and Tashirojima, which I think was episode 31. This was one of my favorites to research. I knew about the Cat Islands in Japan before, but it was interesting to learn how they came to be. And I do want to visit at least one, even if you're not supposed to feed the cats. But I do love cats, and I think it would be a really unique experience. I also really enjoyed when we talked about onsen. This is something else that I really want to try the next time that I visit Japan, and I just think it's interesting, all the just like how long they've been around, and that they're heated from the earth, and just all of the little things that you need to keep in mind when you go to an onsen, and the things that you're allowed to do while you're there, and that sort of thing. So,
yeah.
How about you?
Mine weight more towards later episodes because I think that we, in general, got a lot better at doing these. Nothing against just talking about Tokyo Tower or whatever.
Yes,
but,
right. No, I agree.
But I think we found more in-depth and interesting subjects that go beyond just looking something up,
right.
on Wikipedia or something like that. And so I, on the subject of that, I really liked the one where we talked about the afterlife in Shinto and Buddhism.
I liked that one too. I almost picked that one.
It was very fascinating.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot, and I know that we probably could have gone even longer. I mean, there's just a lot of, because we barely touched on, maybe we'll do this in the future, but just the concept of samsara, the constant struggle of suffering and reincarnation, just in both of those religions. I mean, definitely in Buddhism.
Right.
And yeah, so I mean, that was just really interesting to me, and I look forward to us definitely talking about stuff like that more as we go. Mm-hmm. I also liked the Baboru Kiki one. I thought that was really interesting. Probably audience's least favorite, but I just thought that was fascinating, and even the way that it tied into Ferris wheels, I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Probably you said onsen. I did like the onsen one, and also talking about this was like an itadakimasu, but when we talked about Kōhī and just just convenience stores in Japan.
Oh, and we did barely scratch the surface on that. I think we could talk about that a lot more because they're so different from how they are in the States.
Yeah, but they're really similar, though, in the same way. It's
Yeah,
a lot
but
of
there's a
garbage
lot
food.
of- yeah.
You just go and get a snack.
Yeah, but there are a lot of other like services that they offer too that you wouldn't normally think of as being at like a convenience store.
Yeah, right.
But there was the university that I studied at when I was in Japan for college. There was a convenience store like, you know, only a couple blocks away, and we went there like all the time. And it's I think they were technically slated as like, I think they were like an American company, but I don't think they've been in the States for a really long time. And I actually don't know if I don't know, but they were called Lawson's, and they had like pink and blue and white were their colors, and like the people who worked there had like these shirts that were like pink and blue and white striped, you know, like uniforms and stuff like that. And like one of my fellow students, like for I think it was for Halloween, he borrowed one of their shirts and went as a Lawson employee. Which is pretty great. But yeah, we went there all the time. So I think I also really liked the one where we talked about Kanushi, the Shinto priests and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That was a really good one too.
Yeah.
But speaking of food, what was the favorite food that we talked about for Ichidakimasu with Usagi? I had two for this as well. When we talked about the Japanese crepes for episode number 33, I mean, I know it's not the most Japanese food that we talked about, but it was a lot of fun to research, and I like how Japan took something that is so quintessentially French and put their own spin on it. Also, they're delicious, so if you ever get a chance to have a Japanese crepe, I would highly recommend it. I also really liked when we talked about Anmitsu for episode 42. It was really fun to learn about the Japanese desserts and all of the different components. So much so that I ended up making it at home, and it was delicious. So I don't know, maybe I just kind of have a sweet tooth, so I kind of gravitate towards the desserts that we talked about.
Yeah. There's just so much that goes into that.
There's
like
so
crazy.
many different parts.
You go to McDonald's, pull the lever. Wow, chocolate and vanilla.
I know.
That's how we do dessert here.
Yeah, right.
And then it's like, well, first you take the jelly. Then
I know.
Oh, you got your black sugar? Gotta get your black sugar.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was, it was really good. I enjoyed it. So definitely we'll try that again.
Your Honor, a courtroom is a crucible. In it we burn away irrelevancies until we are left with a pure product, the truth, for all time.
Oh man, this is so intense. Data's on trial for his life.
I know. This episode, The Measure of a Man, is based on the Supreme Court's Dred Scott decision of 1857.
And every week on Backtracking, we take a look at the real-world events that inspired classic Star Trek episodes. Sorry.
Shut up!
Shh.
Who are you?
We're the hosts of Backtracking. I'm Caliban.
You will both be taken to the brig and from there to the nearest starbase, where you will answer charges for what you have done.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
This is not a game. This is life and death.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Backtracking is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
You go f*** yourself.
So how about you?
Well, mine is, I'm just basically picking something that you already said, but it would be the crepes. And the reason why is, like, the reason why I like doing this show and think that people who like anime and Sailor Moon should listen to this show, and that's because of what I learned just doing the show. I watched that episode, and I'm like, oh, I've ever eaten ice cream. Oh, yeah, sure, okay.
Great.
And then it's like, hold on. Excuse me, hold on. It's actually crepes, and let me tell you all about that. And not just the fact that it's, something that Japanese people love, but like you said, its origins, it's French.
Yes.
And how it came to their shores, and just, oh, wow. Something I thought was an ice cream cone with a cherry on top or a raspberry or whatever was like this whole other thing that I learned about. That's just, it's I mean, do I like crepes? They're okay. But just learning about that is just sort of representational of like, oh yeah, that's what this show is for.
Yeah.
Like that's why we do it.
Yes.
So
yeah,
that's my pick.
All right. Sounds good. So I wanted to, share really quick too. I was trying to think of like maybe a good story from when I was, over in Japan, during college, and probably one of my best stories comes from a trip that I went on to Tokyo with some of my friends. So I went to school in the city of Hikone, which is right on Biwako, which is the largest freshwater lake in Japan. It's on Honshu. It's about a 45-minute train ride north of Kyoto. And my friends and I planned to visit Tokyo for a long weekend trip. We took the bullet train or the Shinkansen on our way there, which was a lot of fun, very fast. It was about 2.5 hours.
Do you just get used to going that fast after a while?
You don't feel it. It's crazy. It is.
Yeah, but
crazy.
you look out the window and it's just a blur. It's like
but it's not as
Top
much
Secret
of a
when he's
blur
painting
as much as you would think. And the cool thing was, like, it was kind of cloudy when we went on the train, so you couldn't really see it that well, but it went fairly close to Mount Fuji, so you could kind of see Mount Fuji from the train, so that was cool. But the Shinkansen, although fast, is kind of expensive. It was like around $100 one way. So as a less expensive alternative, we planned to take the night bus for our return trip, which was about half as much as the Shinkansen ticket, but would take around 7.5 hours.
Is it a bullet bus?
No.
Just driving 100 miles an hour.
It's like a luxury bus, you know,
sure.
So, comfy chairs, bathroom, that sort of thing. We were trying to soak in as much of Tokyo in before we left, and we did see a lot while we were there. And at the end of our trip, we were at Pallet Town in Odaiba, which is the shopping entertainment center, which includes the Daiken Rancha Ferris wheel that we talked about previously. We had a big dinner there, but there were about 8 of us, and we were going back to Hikone on 2 different night buses that left from 2 different locations. So we had to get back to the main train station in Tokyo, which is called Tokyo Station, which, by the way, I looked it up. It's the busiest and largest train station in the country. Like something like 3,000 trains leave every day. Wow. It's insane. So huge hub, and we were kind of cutting it close, unfortunately. So once there, my group, which consisted of, and I'm not sure if I should change people's names. Maybe I should just call them like by their initials or something like that.
Yeah.
So my group, which consisted of my Japanese roommate, we'll call her T, who was very sweet and silly. A guy friend who was into music and had a band and very laid back, we'll call him Jay. And another guy friend who was very emo, lip ring and all, but very funny, we'll call him E. Being the night bus, it left really late at night, was around 10 p.m. or so. And the 4 of us headed to the bus station, which was several blocks away from the train station. I had bought a lot of souvenirs while I was in Tokyo because, oh my gosh, I love Japan so much and there's so many fun things. And I was like, oh, when am I going to be in Tokyo again? I'm not going to be in Tokyo again while I'm here. It was kind of towards the end of my stay. And I kind of went a little overboard. So I was carrying several extra bags and kind of lagging behind the group. So my friend E took pity on me and offered to carry some of the bags. We ended up missing the night bus. And although we were already cutting it close, I kind of felt like it was largely my fault. So I felt kind of bad about that. We headed back to the train station, but the last Shinkansen also left at 10 p.m. And we could not afford to get a hotel room for the night, so we had to figure out what we were going to do. We paid for lockers at the train station and stored our stuff and went into the city to see if we could find a restaurant or something that was open. We soon discovered that this particular area of Tokyo was relatively dead at 10 p.m. We found a bar that was open, but it was in this really sketchy building with a sketchy staircase and an uninviting door. We were like, is this place even open? And we were kind of scared to open the door and did so slowly. It was pretty dead inside and we didn't exactly feel safe, so we decided to leave. We wandered around for what seemed like a really long time and did not find much open. While wandering down one of the main streets in the area, we finally came across a koban, which is a small neighborhood police station which can be manned from 1 to 10 police officers. It's often translated as a police box, though it is different from police boxes that you used to find in the UK.
Right.
But there was one uniformed, very polite and helpful police officer at this koban. We asked him if there was anything open around there, or a restaurant maybe, that we could go to. He gave us directions to a 24-hour restaurant that was several blocks away. We arrived, and to our surprise, it was a very large 24-hour Denny's.
Is it
our Tokyo oasis?
Did he say Denny's though? Like,
I don't remember him saying it was a Denny's. Like, I feel like we got there and we were like, it's a Denny's? Like, we didn't even know, like, there was a Denny's in Japan. Like, we're like, what? Like, I'd never been to a Denny's before. I didn't know that it was, like, a chain that was, like, in Japan.
Like, period?
No, I've been to a Denny's before in the States, but not in Japan. I was like, they exist here? What? I was really taken aback. So we went inside and were seated at a table that was half booth and half chairs. We were given menus, and it was pretty much exactly what you would expect to be on a Denny's menu.
Let's see. Suki over... What's hammy in
oh, God, I don't know. So T, J, and I got coffee, free refills.
Oh, wow.
We were poor college students, after all.
Yeah.
E decided to stick with water. We talked and wallowed away the hours. E laid down on the booth section next to our table to try to get some sleep. A waitress came by and told him that he could not sleep in the restaurant.
Yeah, well.
So he very groggily got up and moved to a chair at our table, where he proceeded to slouch, close his eyes, and indeed sleep. Apparently sleeping in a chair was okay. I don't know. Several refills of coffee later, T and I decided to split a piece of cheesecake. E woke up and was like, cheesecake? How long have I been asleep?
They have cheesecake at Denny's in America.
I know. Pretty sure Jay actually got a meal, probably a breakfast entree. At about 5 a.m., we paid for our coffee and food. We went outside, and Jay took a picture of the rest of us in front of the Denny's sign, a reminder of our experience. We trekked back to the train station and got tickets for the next train, which left at 6 a.m., the Shinkansen back to Hakone. As we left Tokyo, we saw the sunrise. An absolutely unforgettable adventure.
Gorando Suramu.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they have... you could order a bowl of rice at Denny's,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
They had some
All
Japanese food, too, on the menu.
But
it's
just
a lot of, like, scrambled eggs.
And sausage and...
Yeah.
Huh. Eggs and sausage.
Yeah. I don't remember if there was bacon on the menu or not. Like, you don't really see bacon a whole lot in Japan. That's not really a common thing.
Yeah.
So I wish I could remember that. But yeah, I mean, it was like big portions. It was a very American. It's just like, it was like, yeah, there were Japanese things on the menu, but
Sure.
it was a very, it was a Denny's in Tokyo.
Wow.
So yeah, that was It was a pretty crazy experience.
Let me tell you about the time that I got stuck at a 7-Eleven in Montserrat. It's just so silly of me. I know I don't have a story like that.
They do have 7-Elevens in Japan.
Oh, of course they do.
So, speaking of convenience stores,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I feel really bad that we missed the night bus, but I just don't even know where else I would have had an experience like that.
Yeah,
so.
now you've got that story.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about, like, it's kind of hard for you to predict where this is going to go for next season, for season R, without having any really context.
I mean, I could just guess a bunch of things that,
right.
Would be just insane and probably not accurate and not constructive. But instead of looking forward, I thought maybe we could look back. Mm-hmm. And we've talked before. It came up early because of the circumstances, and then only once or twice later on. But, there were episodes that, for whatever reason, in the grand wisdom of Dich, never aired on American TV, at least not, at the time.
Right.
And I was wondering if you had an opinion about whether any of the cut shows that Dich cut were essential. I mean, they were obviously cut because of possibly subject matter,
right, or
just maybe not having anything to do with what they saw as the arc of the show, the 40 episodes that they chose. But out of the episodes that were cut, were any of them, in your opinion, it was a crime that they were cut? And those episodes include Punishment Awaits, The House of Fortune is the Monster Mansion, which is the fortune-telling one. Mm-hmm. The Scent of a Monster, Chanela Will Steal Your Love, self-explanatory.
Yep.
Protect the Melody of Love, Usagi Plays Cupid, which is the the piano guy one that we talked about.
Yes.
The Summer, the Beach, Youth, and Ghosts. Sailor Venus's Past, Minako's Tragic Love, which is the backstory of Sailor V. And Death of the Sailor Guardians, Tragic Final Battle, and Usagi's Eternal Wish, A Brand New Life, the two final episodes that were made into Day of Destiny in America.
Yeah. So this is hard, right? Because, like, I understand for the most part why they did what they did. Although I gotta be honest, the Chanela one, I don't really totally understand why they cut that one. I read somewhere that they cut it because Shingo is afraid of cats, and it's, like, terrifying and traumatic to him that his family is going to have a cat anyways. And I'm like, really?
Does he, like, kick Luna at some point or
something? Yeah. So,
in fact,
there is that.
I'm sure he does, because
he does do that.
My title was Naughty Boy Kicking Cat.
Yeah.
God is always eyesing you.
Yeah, right. So I'm not exactly sure why they cut that one, but is it essential? Meh. I think it's a shame that they cut the Sailor Venus one.
Yeah.
I get why, because it's kind of violent. Her friend thinks that she gets blown up by a grenade.
Yeah, I mean,
and somebody's like pulls a knife on a little kid.
Yeah, a little kid gets a knife pulled on him. Plus, it all takes place in, like, it's so continental, But I mean, like, I want to see the series where Sailor V has a European adventure, and she meets a cute boy on the beach.
I would watch a Sailor V series.
And they spend all night together. Wait, is this an Ethan Hawke movie? Something like that. But yeah, it is an episode where a grenade blows up a warehouse. Yeah. And also a 14-year-old girl's in a love triangle with two adults.
Right.
Again,
exactly.
Very continental.
Yeah.
Very continental.
I also think it's a shame that they combined the last two episodes. I understand why, because the Sailor Scouts die very violently. Yeah. And, we can't have that. So I understand why they did it, but I think that's a shame, but I think maybe American audiences might not have dealt with that very well. I I actually really liked the Protect the Melody of Love. Is it necessarily essential? Maybe not, but it's maybe one of my favorite Disguise Pen episodes.
Yeah.
And the Yoma, which we've talked about, is, I think her name was Kuronen, the Bat Lady. She was great. So I think that's kind of a shame too. But
yeah, she had it going on. I also like that they're girls and that they're in high school, but I like when their lives intersect with adults, and you get that dramatic irony of, like young girls, teenagers, like they want to be a certain way, and they're like, ugh, adults are so old. But
Right.
It's like, but that's like what you want to be.
Yes.
Like you look at these older figures, stars or musicians or whatever, and you don't think about the fact that they're 29 or whatever, but you're like, oh, they're an idol. And then your dad's like, how's it going? It's like, oh, God, he's so lame. And, there's just that like disconnect of like, but you want to be an adult. So why are these ones lame and these ones aren't? And when you cut episodes like that, I don't know. Also, like, this second episode ever they cut, and it's not really that important, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, except Usagi forgets how to throw her tiara and she has to be reminded. It's like, okay, it's early days. Yeah. But it also establishes that like boys can have their energy drained too. Every single episode is just, here's something for a girl to, this lip gloss will steal their energy. And I like the idea that it's like, no, I mean, they'll take anybody's energy. It focuses on girls because I think they're presuming that girls are watching the show. But
yes.
So I thought that would have been an important point to make early. But we can both agree that Summer of the Beach, Youth and Ghost is trash, though.
Sorry, it's not a good episode. It's just not. Yeah. I mean, maybe fun.
Let's get rid of that one.
Yeah, just get rid of that one. That's fine. So yeah, that I don't think we really lost much there. So next episode, we are talking about episode number 47, Moon Fukatsu, Nazo no Alien Shutsugen in Japanese, or Moon Returns, The Mysterious Aliens Appear, the English translation, and the English title, The Return of Sailor Moon.
Nozzle.
Yeah, right. So here we are, going into Sailor Moon R.
I'm worried.
You're worried?
It's a big day. Got my backpack.
Yeah.
And Mom wants to take a picture of me. Mom, come on, I gotta catch the bus. Starting a new school.
Do we need to take a picture of you, Cal?
No.
For Sailor Moon, like school day.
Picture of me watching the bus go by.
Yeah, right.
No, let's not do that.
Oh, okay.
But something we should do though is announce our Patreon.
Yes.
We're gonna do it.
Yep.
I think that the response has been good enough, and we want to bring so much more content to you. And it already, it's not horribly taxing for us to do this show, but it does take some time and work, and we would like to expand, put a new wing or two on the house, as it were, the Sakino house.
Yeah.
And so we want to do a Patreon and open that up to give listeners a lot more content, which we've already been looking at and sort of getting ready and getting in the works. And that will include extra segments from regular episodes. We talk about a lot of things. Maybe some of those things will move to the Patreon, and maybe some things we would add. Often when we're preparing shows, we think about like, well, is this show worthy or does this make it too long? A lot of our episodes have been going really long as we sort of near the end of this first show, but a lot of that stuff will be stuff that might appear on the Patreon in the future. Extra content and outtakes. Also, this is not the only anime show in the anime world.
It's not.
Obviously. And it's the focus for us, but, we're fans of all kinds of anime, as the listeners are, as all anime fans are. And so we have definitely been looking at other anime series and thinking about possibly doing a series where we watch the first episodes of other animes and talk about them, apply a similar sort of rating system to them, and talk about the cross-pollination of different series and kind of our love for series and what got us into anime and made us the weebs that we are now. And so all that sort of thing, plus extra content, will be available on our Patreon, which is not fully live yet. We're still in the process of building it, but you will be the first people to know, listeners, when that is available. And I'm excited about it. I'm also excited about the possibility of us doing a series on Patreon or on Patreon. The patrons are on Patreon. That's how it works. On Patreon, where we watch PGSM, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. Yep. The live action Sailor Moon series.
That's right. Yep. What does that noise mean?
There is no name for it, but it's exciting, but it is stressful and also a little bit of fear and trepidation.
Oh no!
What is this going to be?
Oh,
Luna is a stuffed animal.
Yep,
check it
much.
out. We are fighting in a series of empty band rehearsal rooms.
Yep, yeah, pretty much, and rooftops. Lots of rooftops.
Is it for the? I guess there's a lot of open space, but is it for the sound absorbing capabilities? Because that way you can add all your sound effects and your whoosh kicks and your laser shoots and stuff.
I don't know what the reasoning is, honestly. Maybe we can delve into that more when we watch it.
It makes me think of here's an update on Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE.
Whoa.
It's all right.
Whoa.
It's okay.
Jeez.
I was expecting like a Persona level of sort of modern JRPG, and it's really kind of basic, and the fights are kind of straightforward. And I was excited about the idea of young people, using their talents to become idols, but also, their love of performing and music. And that's kind of there, but it's
not
not
really
kind of there.
Oh,
it's just sort of any old game could be, oh, we have animal spirits. Now we're Animorphs or something like that. This is just, I guess I can sing. So that gives
Here's
me
my idol version.
That gives me, like my superhero is a music superhero.
Okay.
And I expected it to be more about their preparation and, their musical styles and how they do it.
Sure,
and it's
they're doing vocal
not
training
exactly
or something.
that.
Yeah.
But when I see, Usagi fighting somebody in a music rehearsal room, I'm like, oh, it's sort of like that. But it's not.
No, not really.
But we won't know. We won't know unless our listeners decide to become patrons, and then they can find out.
That's right.
When we find out.
There you go.
So look for that soon. We'll have an announcement on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yes.
About the launch of that. So anyway, good things.
Yes.
For the future.
Yes, that's right.
So we did it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we were going to make it or not, to be totally honest. When we started this off, I didn't know if I was going to make it all the way through.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an open-minded person, but like when I heard, we're going to watch Sailor Moon. It's like, oh, great. That show I've fastidiously avoided all these years. And I was blown away by how much I enjoyed it. And, I think it's dumb to say that it's, if you're working on something, can it be your favorite thing?
Yeah, right.
This is a job.
Yeah.
So I would say, here's how I would elucidate this. I would watch this if I didn't do it for a job.
Well, there you go.
And that's the thing.
That's the best compliment you can give it.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can love childcare, but if I tell you, well, I'm not going to pay you, but you can watch these 12 kids, you're like, cars pulling off. But that's not, I think I would absolutely continue watching this, whether or not we were doing Sailor Noob.
Yeah. I'm really glad and excited that we're doing the show, too. I've really enjoyed revisiting the anime and this series, and also learning more about Japan through the research and everything has been really fascinating for me, and it's made me appreciate all the little nuances that the show puts in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned before on our first show that like Sailor Moon was kind of like this. It was my first anime, and it was through Sailor Moon that I first began to really become interested in Japan and Japanese culture, and just seeing the aspects in it and everything. But there's other things that I didn't necessarily go, well, what does that mean? Or what is that? And then like the Marimo balls, for instance,
Yeah,
I
which
had
is
no
still
idea what those were.
just the
You know what I
weirdest
mean?
thing, yeah.
So I really appreciate it too. And it makes me excited that you're also excited about it too. And that we have people who are listening to the show and are enjoying it. I really appreciate that.
Your love of Sailor Moon took you all the way to Denny's in Kyoto.
In Tokyo, yeah.
Yeah. And just like ingesting an entire series is kind of a thing too. I mean, when you think about like the things that you like, it isn't until, it's no secret, that I have a Star Trek podcast or a series of them.
Yes.
And I'd always been a Star Trek fan, but I'd never like prided myself on having seen every single episode and remembering everything.
Right.
I don't know if I'm not that much of a fan of a lot of things. Like I enjoy the things that I like, and I like the feeling of them, but I don't often feel like I need to know every single little thing and every second of every show. And having a Star Trek podcast, it became something of an obligation. I felt like I had to know everything about it. And so to do that, I began watching every single episode of Star Trek, all the different series front to back.
Right.
And now that I've done that, I don't regret it necessarily, but it's like, wow, I did that.
Right.
And it's exhausting. Yeah. And so there isn't as much Sailor Moon as there is Star Trek, but at the same kind of point in terms of, advancement or the ratio of watched to unwatched episodes, I'm not weary at all. I'm not fatigued. I want to continue going through and seeing all these things. And
right.
I hope it stays good too. A lot of shows don't stay good as they go, but I'm not even thinking about that right now.
Right. I think without spoiling anything, there are good things still to come. So, well,
okay. Always with the spoilers. Oh, now I know it remains good.
Dang it, Mika. Well, that's our show for this week. In the name of the moon, we'll be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
Mika!